Hi, welcome to the Sweet Life of Steve, and today we are celebrating all things ginger. I love gingers. I can't get enough of gingers. I am obsessed with gingers. You might even say that I've got ginger fever. Today we're making a delicious ginger cookie that won me a challenge on Food Network's Holiday Baking Championship. It uses ginger in 3 ways. And we're making a super fun cocktail called a ginger drop. Grab your favorite redhead.
Feed me ginger.
And let's dive into all things ginger. We're using some honey vodka from our friends at Blackwater Distilling. And I also found this really amazing ginger beer concentrate. If you don't have that, you could just use regular ginger beer or even ginger ale. I am starting with my cocktail shaker, and to that, I'm going to add ½ ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice, Ina Garden, and ½ ounce of lemon simple syrup. Then 2 ounces of our vodka. 1, 2. And about 1 ounce of my concentrate. And we're gonna pour into our ice-filled glass. Glug, glug, glug. Ooh, that looks so good. And because we're using that concentrate, I'm topping it off, with some sparkling water. Of course, this is where you would use that ginger beer or ginger ale if you didn't have that concentrate. Ooh, buns. Give her a little stir. And garnish with some lemons. Cheers. Ginger. For our cookie, this is a basic cream, butter, sugar method. We'll cream our butter and sugar until it's light and fluffy. Then we'll incorporate our eggs and our molasses. Then we'll incorporate our dry ingredients. And our dry ingredients only mix in just until combined, so we need to make sure they're actually well incorporated and mixed together from the beginning. I've got some bread flour here, which is important. If you used all-purpose flour, our cookie will be a little bit more cakey, and we do not want that because this is a cookie, not a cake. I've got my baking soda that I'm gonna put in here. Notice we're not using baking powder, just baking soda. This is going to give us nice leaven, and baking soda can only create air where there is already air, so that's why it's important to do that cream, butter, sugar. And I've got my spices. This recipe uses our ginger in 3 ways: dried, fresh, and candied. Ooh, 3-way. We're also using the Fantastic 4 of spices: cinnamon, cardamom, clove, and allspice. The Human Torch was not available for comment because the Human Torch is now Captain America. Well, it's Chris Evans. He was the Human Torch, and now he's Captain America.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
My spices are going in with my dry ingredients, and I'm going to mix that all together. Now, here's where you could sift, but I'm lazy, so I'm just going to whisk it. But I'm going to whisk it well. Everybody is well incorporated. And now my candied ginger. Now, of course, you could get big pieces of candied ginger and cut it yourself, but again, I'm also lazy, so I buy it already cut. Boom, done. Just mix that together a little bit. Let's get started with the machine. In here, I've got my butter, and I'm adding to that my sugar. And then this is a little trick that I love for cakes and cookies, which is add the salt to the sugar and the butter at the beginning. This is where the most mixing happens, so that salt's gonna be really well incorporated into your batter. If you add the salt with the dry at the end, it only mixes for a little bit, so you could risk salt pockets. This way, it's evenly distributed throughout the entire batch of dough. I'm going to use medium speed, and we're gonna paddle for about 5 minutes. Is this thing plugged in?
Nope.
We're gonna have a little cockety cocktail here. Okay. Cream butter. Here we go. Well, we're just gonna take a drink right now because we gotta wait a very long time for the butter and sugar to cream and work. We probably can cut. This is gonna be a long time. Okay, so we have creamed and This has been creaming for about 5 minutes. It's light and fluffy. Remember, light and fluffy applies to both color and texture. Now I'm going to add my eggs into this. Lower speed, about speed 3 in this one. Eggs go in. Bloop. Bloop. Ginger into here. Mix that all together so it's easy peasy. Stop and scrape after the eggs. Remember, a baker is only as good as he scrapes and as he looks, or she looks, or they looks. Make sure you scrape really well, especially getting in that bottom part of your mixer bowl. You can see our eggs have been incorporated really well. This is a nice, beautiful, emulsified consistency. Boom. Now I'm going to stream this in as I'm mixing. It's going to look a little bit broken once it starts to mix in a little bit, but that's totally fine. Don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong. Don't throw it away. It's just the way it's going to be. Once we start to add our dry ingredients, it will all come right back together again. Again, speed 3. And just stream this in. Make sure to get all of that molassesy goodness. Again, make sure to scrape your bowl, because some of that molasses will have spattered everywhere, and we want to make sure that's all mixed together. You can also see how this mixture does look a little bit broken. Can we get in there? See that? But it's okay. Everything is fine. Mix that all together, get everybody from the sides, and now it's time to add our dry ingredients. This is a great little trick that I have learned for mixing in your dry ingredients. You're very tempted to just dump all of this into here. That's wrong. Don't do that. Add little bits at a time. When the dry ingredients, the flour and stuff, is about 70% mixed in, then add another scoop. And just keep going. It's gonna come together actually a lot faster than if you would just dump everything in right from the very beginning. And always mix in your dry ingredients on speed 1. Scoop-de-doop-boop. Maybe I'll pour from this side. That's a little bit more comfortable. Once, twice around the bowl, and the next crop goes in. Once, twice around the bowl, and the next crop goes in. Once, twice around the bowl, and the next crop goes in. And keep doing this until all of your dry ingredients are incorporated. Around and around and around until we don't see any more flour. Take your spatula and just scrape the bowl really well. Any last little bits of flour that weren't incorporated will be mixed in during that little scrapety scrape. It's a good gift from the ginger gods. You can see that this cookie dough is actually like pretty soft. What we need to do is chill it, and this is important for most cookie doughs. You want them to be cold when you bake them. So I'm scraping this out, and I'm just gonna put it back into my flour bowl, cover that with plastic wrap, and put it in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours. Overnight is best, because all of those flavors have an opportunity to sort of marry, and you know, it's like lasagna or stew or whatever. It's always the better the second day. So the same thing's true for cookie dough. Let it sit overnight. Also, if we were to bake this right now, butter melts at 95 degrees, and this is already at room temperature. So the cookies would just spread everywhere and be a horrible, painful mess. And we don't want that.
Nope.
Ginger ale. I have some cookie dough here that I made yesterday, and it has been chilling overnight. We're gonna scoop that and bake it off. I'm using a silicone mat lined sheet pan. And this is very important for this recipe because silicone is a heat conductor. So the bottoms of my cookies are gonna get nice and crispy, as will the tops. If I use parchment paper, then the bottoms of the cookies will be a little bit soggy. And nobody likes a soggy bottom. I'm using a cookie scoop. You can use whatever size you want. This is a number 24, which I believe is like 2 ounces. I'm dredging the bottom in granulated sugar and then the top in turbinado sugar. And this is important for this recipe. This is how I've been doing it for years, and it works out perfectly. The granulated sugar, because of the silicone mat, gets almost sort of caramelized and a little bit glassy on the bottom, whereas the turbinado sugar will not caramelize. So we have this nice crunchy little snowy, flaky, crackly little top. You'll see, it's delicious. Dredge, roll, place. You want to take the palm of your hand and press down on them, remembering that whatever shape they are now is the shape that they will retain when they bake. So try to do even pressure so that you can keep them nice and round. I've also learned from experience that if you take 3 fingers and do a little divot in each one, they will get a nice crack on the top. It seems like such a silly little thing, but if you don't do this, they don't get as much cracking on the top. I have no idea why. Maybe we'll just call it the 3-fingered method.
Nope.
Then for a little extra specialness, I just sprinkle a little bit more of the turbinado sugar right on top so that we will have these beautiful, pretty little tops. Pretty top. Now I'm gonna do another pan, and you guys can keep that if you want to in the edit, I don't care. With this cookie dough, you'll want to make sure that whatever you don't use, you cover back up with plastic wrap. And I mean cover it really tightly. Actually press it right to the surface of the dough. If you don't, it will actually dry out a little bit, and then when you go to scoop that part, it is completely discolored in the bake and it looks really, really weird. So to protect all this dough, press plastic wrap directly on top, kind of almost like that little trick that we use to keep fruit from browning. This dough will last in the fridge for about 6 days. If you're not gonna bake all of it, scoop it into these balls and freeze it. And then you can scoop from frozen whenever you're ready to have some cookies. Again, press down with the palm of your hand, even pressure, and then go back and finger it. Finger. Boop, boop. And pretty little tops. We're going to bake these in a preheated 350 degree Fahrenheit, 175 degrees centigrade oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. Rotate and alternate the pans halfway through. So don't just turn them, but actually take the bottoms to the top and the tops to the bottom. You see how that works? Bottoms to the top, tops to the bottom. Here we go! Ba 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 da 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 ba 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 oven. Bottom, top. So here's a fun thing about these cookies. You can see as they've been baking that they have puffed up, and that's due to the baking soda. So the baking soda has taken the air that we've put in our creaming butter and sugar and sort of expanded upon that. And as these cool, they will actually start to deflate a little bit. So that is totally fine. If we used baking powder, they would stay risen and they'd be more cakey. The other magic thing about this recipe is if you want to make a ginger snap, just bake them longer. You can actually sort of bang them on the counter and you can see that they're going to start to deflate a little bit. Then you'll want to bake until they're crispy all the way through. I like a soft and chewy ginger. So I slightly underbake mine, which is totally fine. They're actually going to continue baking a little bit on the sheet pan. That's something we call transverse cooking, so the heat from the pan will continue to finish it off. That's a great way to get your cookies a little bit chewy, is underbake them slightly, knowing they will continue to bake as they're sitting on the pan cooling. Once these have cooled to room temperature, you can transfer them to a cooling rack and then kind of let them sort of finish off and you'll get a nice, gorgeous crust. Look at these pretty little craggles that we've gotten on them. You can see they're so pretty and sparkly because of the turbinado sugar that we used. These are delicious. Let's eat these cookies. So our gingers have cooled because we would not want to get a gin burn. And now it's time to eat them. I've got my favorite ginger here.
Oh.
You ready for a cookie?
Yes. My favorite cookie.
So I just want to show you, look at the bottom of this cookie. It's nice and glassy and shiny bottom, and it's chewy. It's not crunchy at all. And look inside of that, it's delicious and gingery. Are you gonna wait for me?
No.
No, all right.
Too long.
Double fisting gingers. Mmm. It's so good.
Terrible.
You're terrible, Muriel. It's got a really nice spice profile because of all those spice grows we threw in there. You can see little chunks of the ginger. It's gin-tastic. It is everything it should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. How's your drink?
Oh, so perfect.
Gingers all the way along. So as always, the recipes for these are in the description below. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know.
What gingers do you need?
What gingers do you need? Oh, I know. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Let me know, how many ways do you like your ginger?